We took it all. We brought them to our land. An endless night, ember hot and icy cold. The rage of the earth. We made this curse. Carved it in the blood on our backs. We did not see. We could not, but she did. And in the end...
What will I become?
Senua's Saga. Hellblade 2.
Play it now with Game Pass.
Things change, but Deer Park Natural Spring Water is a constant you can count on, bringing you the essence of home for 150 years and counting. Sourced from carefully selected springs, Deer Park Natural Spring Water has naturally occurring electrolytes for a crisp, refreshing taste. Find Deer Park Natural Spring Water at your favorite local retailer today. After 150 years, there's only one thing left to say. Deer Park, that's still good water.
It's time for today's Lucky Land horoscope with Victoria Cash.
Life's gotten mundane, so shake up the daily routine and be adventurous with a trip to Lucky Land. You know what they say, your chance to win starts with a spin. So go to LuckyLandSlots.com to play over 100 social casino-style games for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. Get lucky today at LuckyLandSlots.com.
Available to players in the U.S., excluding Washington and Michigan. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Hello everyone, welcome along to the Rangers Rabble Women's Show on this Monday evening. My name's Brian and I'm joined by the usual gang, Wilf, Carr and Laura. Wilf, how are we?
I'm a bit that intro took me a bit by surprise. I've not seen that before.
Me too.
Yeah,
Me too.
took me a bit by surprise, but yeah, I don't want to put it down the remote we're going to talk about. I'm still hurting a lot from Saturday, but in the context of why we're here, I'm absolutely delighted that we were celebrating a Rangers captain waving a shiny thing at us yesterday. So yeah, in the context of why we're here, I'm absolutely great. Thank you.
Good. Carr, are you off cloud nine yet?
No, I mean, I watched Rachel's goal back about 60 times a day on my breaks at work, just on repeat, and that and the celebrations, because it was just so class. But a good day all round for the women.
Yeah, absolutely. And Laura, you were just saying before we started, have you dried off?
Yeah, just a bit. It was a fun day all round between Hampden and then going back to Ibrox and singing in the rain. Doesn't get much better when you see another trophy getting added to the cabinet, whether it's the men or women.
Yeah, absolutely. So, of course, we're here to speak about Rangers completing a cup double, beating Hearts 2-0 in the final of the Scottish Cup. Wolf, history yesterday, obviously, with the ladies. First time we've won the Scottish Cup. Big moment that, wasn't it?
It was. It's unbelievable. I didn't realise that the Women's Scottish Cup had been going on for as long as it had. I thought it was maybe 20 years we hadn't won it. I believe it's 45 years old, that trophy. I heard that.
It's 54. I got it wrong. It's 54.
Okay. 54 years. Again, I'm picking all my information up from the Magnificent Rangers Women's Supporters podcast, but I'm picking it up wrong because
I got it wrong.
Yeah, 54 years and we've not won it. That's ridiculous. I mean, I know it used to be called the Hibs Cup because they won it all the time, but I mean, yeah, there was a new name going on it yesterday. Whoever won it, because it was Hearts' first ever final. Terrific to win it. Really won it at a canter. I mean, it was. I know we'll get into it. It was quite a strange starting formation. Not so much lineup, certainly a strange starting formation. Horrible day for football. It was really, really wet. The pitch obviously been played on the Saturday as well. Pitch looked really good, but with the with the incessant rain, it was very obvious. It was really, really heavy. You were never going to get a great game of football on it. Finals don't tend to be great games of football anyway. And the object of the exercise was Rangers winning the cup, and Rangers won the cup. So what's not to like?
100%. And Carr, I mean, I found it hard to believe, but at the same time, just amazed that it was the first time we'd won it. I mean, we were in the final last year. We lost, and then this year we went one better and got the job done. I'm so it's one of those sort of moments where they've won two and basically lost by a hair in the other one. It's not, as we said last week, it's not a bad season, is it?
No, it's not a bad season at all, especially when you look at Joe's first season in management. Not a lot of them, but a lot of the young players, it's their first year being professional. We brought Rachel Rowe, Rio Hardy in, first year up here, maybe not quite sure what's going to happen. And they've really almost done it at a canter, just fell really the last hurdle to get the league over the line. But incredible, really. We should have won it before now, so it is kind of incredible that we've not won it before now. But obviously, once you beat them in the semi-final, whoever you're kind of coming up against, you are the favourites to win it then. So it almost feels a little bit flat, because if they don't do it, it's horrendous. But they do it, well, that's what they're meant to do. So it's not as exciting as the semi-final was in that kind of respect. But it's still a great day all round, and they've got it. It's in the cabinet now for the next year until next May, and we'll just enjoy that.
Yeah, I mean, Laura, was there any sort of anxiety going into the game? Obviously, what happened the week before, where we lost by goal difference in the league. Was there ever a worry that the girls were going to, struggle to get themselves up for yesterday?
No, I don't think they were going to struggle to get themselves up, but I think the worry was because we've lost to Hearts this season, and you thought they're obviously a team that we've kind of struggled against the past few seasons. But once we came out and we started playing the way we were, you knew that it was pretty much going to be our day. But I think that's slight concern, because it's never, as much as we were talking about it as if we'd already won it beforehand, it's never a certainty. You've still got to go out and perform, and we did.
Absolutely. And of course, Wolf, you were just speaking about the lineup was very strange, so we'll go through that. Vic Essendon goals. Now, this is the bit that's interesting, isn't it, Wolf? We had a back four, I believe, of Nick Docherty, the captain, Rachel McLaughlin, Cathy Hill, and Tess Middack as the back four. We had Brogan Hay, Lizzie Arnott, Chelsea Cornett, Olivia McLaughlin, Kirsty McLean, and up front. Now, that is completely went off the sort of beaten track as far as formations as this season, isn't it?
Well, it was clearly four at the back. It was either 4-3-3 or 4-5-1, whatever way you wanted to look at it. Because McCarthy out the only recognised striker up front, whether Brogan and Lizzie were classing them as wingers, so forwards, or were they, were the wide midfield players. But I suppose it was one of those 4-3-3 when we're attacking, 4-5-1 when we weren't really. Strange time to try a new formation, a cup final. For me, it was possibly Joe's way of trying to get any and live in the same team, in the same midfield, because we've questioned previously, how difficult it's going to be to get both of them play, because they're both quite similar the way they play, getting them both in the same team. And it worked yesterday. It worked absolutely perfectly yesterday. I thought they both played really, really well. It was quite strange. I know we'll go on to when we made the substitutions after an hour, which I think were probably planned. I think I managed to annoy the guy sitting behind me, because he turned to whoever is I don't know, his daughter or whoever was sitting beside him, and said, we've won 3 at the back. This is like we've been playing all season. And he sort of went, oh, you know what I mean? So, it was a bit strange that we started 4 at the back, but it worked. I mean, like I said, for me, it was to try and get Liv and Innie in the same midfield, because playing the way we normally play, sort of, with 3 at the back, 2 up front, it might be more difficult to get them in, but it worked. I mean, what more can you say? Clean sheet, you can't ask for any more than that in the cup final. So, Yeah, she managed to get it right. We even managed to change it, as I say, to the more traditional this season, 3 at the back after an hour, and it didn't make a lot of difference. So, yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah, Cart. I mean, when I sort of read the lineup, I kind of just skimmed through it like you do, and sort of thought, "Oh, it's fine." And then when you look deeper, it was basically, as Wolf says, a way to get Liv, Kirsty, and Chelsea in the same sort of midfield three. And I thought the balance between, Kirsty, Liv, and Chelsea was tremendous, because I think they all took sort of turns in going forward, and they always, they all did a little bit of like the dirty work at some point, and then, I thought the balance between the three of them was tremendous, wasn't it?
Yeah, it did work really well. I queried maybe Rio didn't have a full game in her, so maybe it was a case of, well, that's fine, I'll just put one up top and then I'll pack the midfield and then we'll have 4 at the back. And then it was really 2 at the back at most times, because Nick and Rachel were getting pretty high up the pitch. But it did work really well, and if that's something Joe was, thinking about and planning for next season, I'm very excited by that, because that midfield was, it took a while, but we got there. There was moments where it was a bit, this isn't working the way I perceived it, but you watch it back and it worked absolutely fine. I think I was just a little bit nervous because we hadn't scored yet at that point, but it did work. And Chelsea this season has become like a mainstay of that midfield, and has really kicked on, having a bit more freedom. And I think having Kirsty in beside her definitely works really well. And Liv, obviously not our player, but hopefully we can get her back next season, because that midfield, if that's the plan and that's the midfield, it'll be outstanding next season, having all 3 of them together.
Yeah, Laura, I mean, it's probably a strange sort of feeling for Kirsty out up front, because she's been so used to playing, with Rio up beside her. So it was obviously something that was worked on, that, they would have one up front. Kirsty, as I say, has been used to having the partner, so it was a strange sort of time or strange game to experiment with, one up front.
Yeah, I think Kirsty's probably not the one you would want really up front. I think you would prefer Rio more up front, but as Kirsty, maybe she wasn't fully fit to play the full game. But Kirsty's that one that if she comes deep, then there's nobody really going in front, so it kind of gets lost and we kind of lose a bit of something up front. I think she works better with somebody beside her when she's either doing the work or they're doing the work, and then the other one's putting it at the back of the net. But again, it's something that we've tried, and when you watch it back and you see the highlights, some of the play between kind of the midfield, the one-touch passes, and that was absolutely phenomenal to watch. I don't think you kind of, especially when we were like right at the front, you never didn't really pick up on it. But when you watch it back, the formation and that definitely worked. But I just don't think Kirsty, how it works up front on her own, which I think was why the season before we kind of struggled when she was the one that was kind of up front. And I just don't think that's her strongest position. I think she's better with somebody beside her.
Yeah, but just to pick up on that, I actually said that to Demi several times in the first half, that it's frustrating that Kirsty Howitt is going really deep for the ball all the time, and when you've only got one up front, you don't want to see your centre forward on the halfway line, because as Laura says, she gets the ball, passes it to somebody who they're going to give it to, because the person they're giving it to is standing our goal side of her. So, and it's just the way Kirsty plays. She always wants to get involved. Mm-hmm. So I mean, Laura's spot on. You need somebody like even a Jane Ross up there if Rio's not fit enough to do it. It'd be ideal for Sarah Ewens, but the problem with Sarah up front, she's not prolific, so she needs somebody to be running onto her. So, as I say, it worked, but Kirsty Howitt, as Laura says, Kirsty Howitt's not the person to be doing that with, really.
Yeah. A strange sort of start, Carl. I mean, we took a little bit of time to get in the game, didn't we? We didn't sort of really establish ourselves, till maybe 10, 15 minutes into the game.
Yeah, I don't know if they were just feeling out hearts and kind of feeling out the pitch a little bit. I don't know if, they don't play there that often, that they're that used to it. And maybe the change in formation, they were just taking that little bit extra time to get to grips with it. But we had a couple of chances, half chances early on, but we just weren't really doing much with it. But you saw the space kind of opening up, and there was a couple of times before Rachel scores, as we'll come on to, that they had the chance to just hit it. And they weren't. They were taking that extra touch and trying to like move it a little bit instead of just hitting it. Which, you know, everyone that sits around me knows that I'm just hit it, just absolutely smash the ball. And these things happen, as we'll come on to. But yeah, it took a little bit. I don't know. Maybe it was just the day. They just wanted to feel out the pitch a little bit and see what Hearts were going to do.
Yeah, as we were just saying, Laura, it was Carr just mentioned the opening goal. Well, I must admit, even my sort of shout of hit it was, well, go a little bit further than hit it. I estimated at the time when I seen it a second, I said to you guys, I thought it was 30 yards, but when you look it back, it could have been 35 yards. Just an unbelievable strike. But that's Rachel. She's been doing that for a long time now. It's not a new thing where she shoots from 20, 25, 30 yards. And the goalie just was nowhere near it, was she?
No, she just seems to have that knack for being like, right, I use it, just playing about, right, I'll just hit it and this will get us kind of in the front. And then literally a couple of minutes later, there was Brogan kind of dummied it, goes through, and she really does the exact same thing again. She's just got such a knack for being able to hit it, and it just goes into the top corner. And in any game, whether it's the men's or the women's, the keeper's not really getting to that when it's hit so sweetly and goes straight into the top corner. But her celebration when she runs away and she's knee sliding and she's swearing, and you just see Joe, one of the pictures, you just see Joe looking so proudly as if that's like worthy winning a cup final, never mind just being the first goal to kind of open the scoring. But that's just what Rachel does, and I think it's something we've missed probably when she's been injured as well. That could have been an extra maybe 2, 3, 4 goals that we got just for her having that ability to hit it and the kind of tougher games. But it's just one of the things. But no, when she does that, you just admire it. And if it was in the men's game, it would be played on channels on a loop, but unfortunately it's in the women's game and it's not given as much credit. But she's just phenomenal. That's just what she does.
Yeah, and Wolf, I don't think it's, I think we should all have a little say in this goal because, as I say, she did it a couple of weeks ago in a sort of crucial game. She scored in a 1-0 win. So, I mean, it's a goal, as Laura says, that we stand up to win any cup final.
Yeah, she doesn't score ordinary goals. I mean, everyone she scores is from. Because, I mean, you said you originally thought 30, probably 35. By the time we come up, we stop this in about half an hour's time, it'll probably be 60, 70 years it'll be, because it'll get longer and longer all the time. But I mean, it was a phenomenal hit. And I mean, you could actually hear the intake of breath from everybody in the ground because it was one of them. I mean, Charlotte Parker-Smith, the Hearts keeper, she's a decent keeper. She's a good shot stopper. I mean, quite often women's goalkeepers, guys that don't know get a bit, well, the goals are too big for the keeper and all that. Well, they're really not. But there isn't a keeper. I don't think there's a keeper on the planet stopping that, because that was a great hit and it just went straight into the top bin. And I mean, as Laura says, it's what Rachel does. And if you're going to throw it to Carl now, we might as well all just go home, because Carl will just spend about the next 3 weeks talking about it, because we know how much she loves Rachel. And it really was a hell of a hit from, I'm saying, 50 yards spinning.
Take it away, Carl.
I mean, it's an outstanding goal for her to be in that position, though. She's basically in the midfield, running straight through the centre of the pitch, and the space just opens up for her, and she just absolutely smashes it. But not one that's just, we'll see what happens. As soon as it left her boot, I think she started running because she knew it was going in, and I think most people did. But as well says, that kind of, and then it happened, and it's just incredible. But like I say, I've watched it back so many times now, but yesterday I hadn't watched it back so many, and I thought the goalie is too far over the other side. She really should be doing better. No chance. Butland's not saving that. There's no chance anybody's getting near that. That's such a sweetly hit goal. I think it's probably one of the best goals that she's ever scored. And she scored some absolute bangers, by the way. Just an incredible goal. And from, as Laura said, had we had Rachel fully fit, since she'd been injured, we probably go on and win the league, which breaks my heart to think about, but we won't go on to that. But just an absolute outstanding goal. And I'll probably watch that all summer, in between signing news, whatever else is happening. I'll just keep watching that on a loop, because it's just that good.
Brian, I would urge anybody that hasn't seen it to go watch it now. I'm assuming that everybody watching this feed just now is invested in what we're talking about, invested in the women's games, so they will have seen the goal. But anybody that catches up with us later, even if they stumble upon it on a podcast feed, it's just a Rangers thing, I'll listen to it. If you haven't seen it, go and watch it, because it's an absolute cracker. It really is.
Yeah, and at half-time, Laura, we're going 1-0 up. Were you happy with 1-0, or do you feel we could have had more?
I think we could have had more, because it was quite early in the game. Their goalie slipped as well, and it was a moment that we really should have capitalised on. But again, we were maybe a bit slow to react or whatever. But the chances, like Kirsty had a couple of chances, and they're kind of half chances and that. But you really want your striker, especially when she's playing up front. She gets a chance, you really need her to take it, because you don't know when the next chance is kind of going to come. But I think we could have been a good couple of goals up, but we were happy with the goal. And as I say, Rachel's goal was worthy of winning it, but we still wanted a few more just to make it a bit more comfortable.
Yep, and Wolf, you spoke about the subs after half-time. It's after 60 minutes. Kirsty McLean, Tess Middock, Brogan Hay came off for Rachel Rowe, Rio Hardy, and Mia McCauley. Back to the formation I think that they were used to. As you said, it was obviously a pre-planned substitution. And obviously one of the players mentioned had a big say in the second goal shortly before.
I don't know if it was. I don't know if all three substitutions were pre-planned. I mean, I said taking any off was probably pre-planned, because she's just back from injury. The game's going. It'll be when I go up, we're not really in any danger, so there's no point in risking her. I know it's the last game of the season, but you don't want to have a reaction, because you need her back for full pre-season and stuff like that. So I'd imagine taking any off after an hour was probably planned. Maybe not so much Tess going to three at the back wasn't, and it was possibly in the back of Joe's mind that maybe it wasn't set in stone that that's what was going to happen, because obviously you can't preempt what's going to happen in the game. But I mean, Joe's good at making substitutions. That's what we missed previously. Malky for, as Carl always says, we always question what he was doing with substitutions. But substitutions, they worked. It did change the formation. It took us a minute or two to get back into our stride, but but we're never really. Hearts had one or two moments, but I don't think, from memory, Vic had anything really to do in goal. She maybe had one save to make, a couple of wee powder puff shots to stop. Whereas the Hearts keeper had 2 or 3 fairly decent saves. There was one that somebody's referenced there that she just got herself in the way of. So yeah, the substitutions were fine, and it did ultimately help lead up to the second goal, which closed the game, the cup out with a couple of minutes to go. So meant we could relax going into stoppage time.
Yeah, Car, and a good sort of little finish from Lizzie Arnott. I mean, there was I believe a little sort of pass in from Rachel Rowe, and Lizzie passes it, I would suggest, into the bottom corner. Lizzie can do that. She, her finishing is usually exemplary. As Wolf says, it made the last couple of minutes, plus injury time, a little bit more bearable in the sense that you could relax.
Yeah, I mean, Hearts had one really good chance that Vic had to react quickly to, and then you're starting to think we need another one here just to make sure nothing silly happens, because you don't really want to be 1-0 up until that late in the game, and then they potentially get one back, and then you're kind of chasing it again. But I mean, well worked goal, I'd say, coming from out wide, and then it kind of ping-pongs around a little bit, and then it just lands at Lizzie's foot, and as you say, just kind of passes it into the net. Goalie probably should do a bit better, but again, Lizzie just manages to squeeze it in to that corner, and she's away. Another knee slide, everyone's joining in behind her, and it just kind of makes everyone that bit more comfortable. And I think by that point, it really had started heavily raining, so I'm sure that tore the pitch up a little bit, all of them sliding over there, but tremendous work from all of them. She probably should have had about 4 before that point, with Rachel Rowe rounding the keeper twice. One really good save from the keeper, and another one that just good defensive work from Hearts. But we did everything right, but score as many goals as we should have. But that goal just kind of settled everyone down.
We took it all. We brought them to our land. An endless night, ember hot and icy cold. The rage of the earth. We made this curse. Carved it in the blood on our backs. We did not see. We could not, but she did. And in the end,
what will I become? Senwa Saga. Hellblade 2.
Play it now with Game Pass.
Yeah, Laura, and of course that was the the end result 2-0. Obviously, Nick Dott lifting the Scottish Cup for the first time as Rangers winning it. First captain to win it for Rangers. And you could see what it meant to the players winning it. It was a long season for them. They got to, they won both cups, narrowly lost the league. It was a long season for them, wasn't it? And you could see that sort of release of sort of relief and sort of just delight in the players' faces.
Yeah, but it's only going to get longer next season because we've got Champions League, so hopefully they're used to it by now. But no, it's good that it's another trophy that we've got. Obviously, winning it for the first time, and yeah, I think they were kind of after the disappointment last week. So I think Jo kind of in her interview after the game kind of seemed like she was still really hurting for that. Whereas the players kind of seemed to just be buzzing that they'd go to over the line and they'd got the cup, but I think Joe's going to be plotting and planning the full off season up till pre-season to kind of wrong the kind of rights for last year. But no, it's great to obviously win another trophy. That's just kind of completed the set with the domestic trophies now, so it's just a matter of keep winning them and total it up and catch up with Glasgow City.
Yellow card, Brian.
Sorry, I was coughing and I muted myself. Very much apologise. I'm going to ask all three of you the same question, so you can chime in whenever you want. I'm asking everybody in the comments as well to put their opinions in as well. So I'll ask all three of you if you're going to rate the women's season from an A+, A-, B, such and such. How would you rate the Rangers women's season? I'll start with you, Wilf.
Thanks. I'll go back to what I said last week. We didn't win the league, so it wasn't a successful season. 2 cups is great. Winning the league is what we're all about. I don't know. It's probably I don't know. What would it be? A B, maybe B, maybe a B minus, a B. I don't know, because we didn't win the league. I just can't go over the fact that we didn't win the league from where we were. But to give the girls a bit more time to think, going back to what happened yesterday, right? And I'd like everybody's opinion on this as well, so you can throw this in with your ranking. See when we get the trophy, right? One thing really pleased me, and one thing really annoyed me, right? The thing that really pleased me, they went back to the old way. They didn't put medals around their neck. They gave them the medals in little boxes. That's the way tradition has it. That's the way it should be. They shouldn't have to run about with medals around their necks, right? But what really gets on my wick at cup finals, every single cup final for me, and Brian, you'll probably be the same, and I don't think you two girls are old enough to even remember it happening this way. The captain should be the first one up, get the trophy and pass it along the line. None of this ever goes up the captain's last nonsense. That to me is just, and it happens especially at Hampden when they're going up the steps onto a very, very small, a very thin platform. I mean, Nick basically had to throw half the team out of the way to get to the cup. She should be first up, get the cup and pass it along the line. But anyway, back to your question, Brian. Sorry, I wanted to get that out before we moved away from yesterday. I would say, being generous, a B, because we didn't win the league. So that's 2 cups, fantastic. But I enjoyed both cup finals, enjoyed celebrating both the cup wins. I'm going to really enjoy winning the league next year, hopefully. Hopefully enjoy celebrating that. So, yeah, I'd say generous with a B, I think.
Car?
Yeah, I think I agree with that. It's not a perfect season by any stretch of the imagination. I keep kind of putting out of my mind how far ahead we were at one point. Thanks for bringing that up, Wolf, and just making me really annoyed again. So looking at it that way, we absolutely should have gone and won the league. So for that to happen is a bit annoying, but in the sense that I don't think Joe ever expected to even be that close this season. This was kind of the building block season for how to kind of get feelers out, get the players in, see if the formations and everything worked. So in that sense, it's probably fairly successful. So I think a B is a fairly good grade for them all to get. But, room for improvement, things to work on, go and look at your answers and come back next season and do better.
And Laura, finally.
I don't know if B+ is a thing, but if it was, I'd probably say that, because I think A+ would be your invincible season, winning the treble. he would probably be the treble, but we're not quite invincible. So I would say maybe a beat. Like, we've done really well. I think the foundations have been laid for next season. Jo was coming in, first job as a manager at the best club in the world, so she was going to take time to bed in. She's always said that we're further ahead than, like, she was coming in with a new formation, a new way of playing. So I think we've probably exceeded the expectations, but because we're Rangers fans, we're never happy and always want everything. But I think we've got to take the positives. We've got back in Champions League, 2 cups, pushed the league really close. So yeah, I think fairly successful. Not quite perfect, but we're going to beat that next season, hopefully. So room for improvement, but done well.
Yeah, I mean, I think a B plus is certainly, it's touching like an A minus because we've literally lost the league by goal difference. So it was so close to being perfect.
Right, the important part of that is we lost the league.
Yes, I know, but I think a B plus is a fair assessment. It's, as you said, it's so close to being perfect, but it wasn't. So I think B plus is a fair enough one. As Graham was just saying, the manager was the signing of the season. But I'll ask you all individually, if you were picking one of the players that you felt was the difference maker, who would be your standout player? The signing of the season. Wilf?
Liv McLaughlin. No question for me.
Go on then. Why?
There's a comment somebody put, and it's not a description I would use for her, but it probably just about sums Liv up. Was great. Just the way she plays. She, she reminds me of, right? She actually reminds me slightly, in fact, more than slightly, of a former Rangers player and very briefly manager who was sitting in a box behind me at Hampden on Saturday at the men's final, Stuart McCall. She reminds me very much of Stuart McCall, the way he used to play. And as Carl says, if we can get Liv back and she's half the player Stuart McCall was, she'll be a player. You know what I mean? I mean, she's only, 19, 20? She's still only young. She clearly loves it here. Hopefully we can get her back. But just for me, absolutely phenomenal. I mean, in the whole time that Annie was out, we didn't miss her nearly as much as we probably should have because Liv was in there doing that job. So for me, signing of the season without any questions, Liv McLaughlin.
Car?
So do we mean actual players we signed this season, or like young players that just signed like professional contracts?
You can. I'll throw in young players we signed professional contracts, or new players that we signed in the summer.
You just made me have to change my answer. I was going to be like, that's a really easy one. It's Rachel Rowe, obviously, but now I want to say Mia Macaulay, because just what an absolute. There's not enough superlatives for Mia Macaulay, but how young she is, and how good she hit the ground running so quickly, and kind of took everyone breath away, in the sense that no one could have expected it as much because she's a young lassie, she'll get minutes here and there, and then she basically featured for the whole half of the season and was scoring goals basically every game, especially against Glasgow City, the likes of Celtic. Big games, big moments, didn't shy away from it at all, was just scoring absolute worldlies half the time. But I don't, can I have 3? Liv, Rachel Rowe and Mia. I'll go Mia, just because how young she is, and then if you ask me next year, it'll be Rachel Rowe.
And you, Laura?
As soon as he said that, I was like, who did I even pick? As Wolf said, Liv's been phenomenal. Probably didn't really bring Liv in if Kirsty McLean doesn't get injured, I would say, but maybe was going to be a kind of plan. Mia probably doesn't get minutes if Brogan and Lizzie didn't pick up knocks, so it's one of them you just kind of take your chances. Rio, as Alan says, there's been phenomenal. She came in, struck up a good partnership with Kirsty Howard, was bagging in the goals, but then she kind of went off for him once Kirsty got injured, which wasn't great. But no, for me, it's got to be Rachel Rowe, because she's came in and moved us up. Like, I think we're always going to kind of move up the way Joe's kind of setting the standards, but Rachel Rowe's kind of dragged us through some games, and as much as she can be a bit frustrated at times when she doesn't lift her head, and could probably have scored 10 goals more than she already has, but no, she's been phenomenal, and she's just that kind of player that rolls her sleeves up, gets stuck in, and does it all with a big cheesy grin on her face.
Absolutely. I would probably concur with you, Laura. I think Rachel Rowe made a huge difference to the team. She was the difference between the midfield and the striking options. She was the sort of the link that got everything going. She scored some amazing goals, made a lot of assists. So Rachel Rowe would be my one. Just it's all opinions. Nobody's right, nobody's wrong. I mean, every player that's been mentioned has been superb. So that just, as you say, Laura, you were struggling to think of, narrow it down to one. That's how good a season you've had as a team. So that's, for me, the big difference. Now, Wolf, this came out of the blue. There was a flurry of contract extensions at the start of last week. None other. The first one up was the captain, Tik Tok. She signed a new deal, 2-year extension. Massive. That was a massive statement. The first sort of extension, wasn't it?
Yeah, they didn't come out of the blue, because if you listen to Carol Laura's other podcast, we knew news was coming because Joe had said so to Alan after the last game at Broadwood last week. So we knew it was coming. We just didn't know when. We certainly didn't expect a flurry of contract extensions over the course of the early part of the week. The first one being the captain was great, but I mean, your captain getting an extension contract, particularly when the club means so much to her, and everybody knows how much the club means to her. She makes no secret of the fact that she's a die-hard Rangers fan, so no reason to give her a contract, but she's well worthy of the contract. And when the other contracts came in thick and fast after that, it was a bit strange that they announced some of them as just singular, like Nick got announced on their own, Kathy got announced on their own, but then there was, double contracts getting announced at the same time, sort of thing. You know what I mean? That was a bit strange the way they did that. And what we were talking about yesterday as well, was also a bit odd that we're all 2-year extensions apart from one. And Brogan, who's been here forever, it sounds like she will be here forever because she got a 3-year extension. The rest of them all got 2.
I haven't got to her yet. I was speaking about Nick.
When you go, I'm not going to steal your thunder. When you go.
So, Car, the next one that came up out of the news was Lizzie Arnott and Brogan Hay. Lizzie got a 2-year extension. I think Brogan got a 3-year extension. This is certainly a change in sort of approach from certainly maybe Rangers and women's game in general, that they're offering multi-year deals now, because obviously I think you guys were very sort of in the know, in the sense that you knew that everybody was getting like very short deals, but this is a new approach from Rangers now. They're actually offering multi-year deals to players now.
Yeah, I mean, I think 3 years is the most I've ever seen. We've done 2 years in the past. We obviously gave Jenna a 2-year deal last summer, but she was the only one we announced the length of. The rest of them was always a secret. So now we were going, well, who's still under contracts? We don't know how long their extensions were for last year. So I like that we're actually in the know now. You know how long they're going to be here for. But Brogan's going to be here till she's about 45, and then she might leave if she's forced out the door. Because I feel like, same with Nick though. Nick will be here as long as they'll let her be here. She genuinely will never want to leave. And I think Kathy would be the same. There's a lot of them like that. They just love the club and everything that they've built here so far. But Brogan especially, she's been here that long. She started being here, 5-6 years? My maths isn't great, something like that. But she's just an outstanding player, very well deserved. Lizzie was a little bit of an eyebrow raiser for me. She wasn't one that I expected when we were looking at who potentially might go. Lizzie was one that I was like, she's struggled a bit with injury. She's maybe lost a little bit of pace. She's not really offering us the same thing that she did prior. But then she pops up with a goal in the final and has popped up with big goals and, the League Cup finals, popped up against City. She offers us something a little bit different than maybe Brogan or Mia does. So she is good to kind of have around. And it's nice that we've just kept the core group kind of together, and then Joe can then just build on that, on top of that, with whoever is leaving.
Yeah, and Laura, the next one up was Kathy Hill, got a 2-year extension. Excuse me. Another sort of consistent sort of player that's, another show of faith from the club that's a 2-year deal.
Yeah, I don't think there was any way Joe was going to get Kathy at the door. She would have shackled herself to walking Howie Gates, to be honest. So she was always going to be signing. She's pretty much like co-captain, as part of that leadership group. So she was always going to get that kind of contract extension, I think. And plus, she's one of us. She just knows what it means to win for us. She's been phenomenal this season, even when she's had to take over in Rachel McLaughlin's place, which is kind of out of position for her. I don't think it's too strange to her because I think she has played there previously when she was younger, but she's done absolutely phenomenal in there. And you always see the frustration when we do concede a goal or whatever. She's always the one that's kind of seems to be the most annoyed about it. So she's another one that kind of drives the standards, and you need to kind of players about, especially for young players that are coming through and getting signed and whatnot, to say this is what it means to play for Rangers. And Kathy and Nick and that just epitomise that. So it's good that she's still here.
Absolutely. And then, Wilf, not long after that, it was the turn of Jodie McCleary and Ailey Austin to get 2-year deals. Obviously, both came through the youth system. Again, multi-year deals for the young players.
That's brilliant, because we've got to protect our assets. I mean, as we know, we've been on record of saying over the season, they do tend to be short, as you touched on earlier. They do tend to be short-term contracts. It's a year, and then another year. That's how you lose. Like, you lose Emma Watson for nothing, because it's a year's contract you get, and then she's out of contract, and Man United came in offering the money that we couldn't compete with. So it's a no-brainer. She's going to go. Rangers get nothing. You know, I mean, to my knowledge, it's not like the men's game. You don't get a development fee. You get nothing. It's just, see you. Where you go. Thanks very much for bringing her through. There you go. We have to protect our assets. Now, I'm not saying for a minute that I want Jodie or Ailey or Mia or any of them to leave. I'd love them all to, I'd love them all to be the next Claire Gemmell and stay here forever and a day, and a day after that as well. But the reality is, they're probably not going to. So we need to protect them and protect us as well. So having them on enhanced deals is great. And these young players, like Ailey and Jodie, they can only learn from, Nick Doherty, Kathy Hill, Rio, all these guys. They're going to learn. They seem a very, very happy group. They seem all. I mean, they all, as we keep saying, they always reference how good the dressing room is. And you see them when they're celebrating goals and celebrating wins like yesterday. They're a unit. They're not just like the youngsters are off on their own doing their own thing, and the more experienced players, they're all in it together. It's one for all. It's like the Musketeers. It's one for all and all for one, which has got to be brilliant for the young players, because you can't fail to learn off these players. You can't fail to learn. And it's not just about learning how to play football and what you do. It's good habits. It's good habits off the field. You've got to project yourself as a football player, stay out of trouble, all this sort of stuff, and they'll learn all that. And the fact that they're getting enhanced contracts, I mean, I'd like to see a few more of the young players getting caught, even if they've still got a year left. Give them another couple of years just to keep them at the club. As I say, it protects everybody, protects them, protects us, and we've got some great talents coming through. I mean, there's one or two of the players that were out on loan who, when we just about time to talk about, who I'd like to see getting new contracts, and they might still get them, in the coming days and weeks, because they certainly deserve the chance. And if they're not going to make it with us, we have to get the system working. So we can't just be giving them away.
Yeah, 100%. And then lastly, Kirsty Howard and Rio Hardy getting 2-year deals. Big show of faith in both of them. Kirsty came off, a difficult injury, and then had a really good season with near 20 odd goals. And then Rio, big again between the two of them, lots of goals there.
Yeah, I think it's definitely the favoured front two that Jo has. So definitely something that she wants to kind of keep around, foster that relationship and build on that for next season. Obviously, we'll need, we don't know who's, other than Lisa, we'll come on to that anyway. We don't know who's all leaving, so I'm sure there's other players in there that will be leaving. So we'll need to bring in backups because of, unfortunately, Kirsty Howard's injury records. She's not who she was prior to getting her ACL, doing her ACL for the second time. So we need that kind of balance there, get other people in, and then it gives them a bit of breathing room as well. Like when Rio starts to dip a little bit in form, you then got somebody else to bring in and back up. But having that foundation there of basically a spine right from the top to the back end of the team, solid. You know what you've got going into next season, and then you can build on that. It is really, really good work from Joe and Donald getting that done very early, because apparently the conversations happened at Christmas. Joe already knew who she wanted to keep, what the plan was, what it was looking like, which is outstanding work from all of them to have that foresight. Right, this is what we're going to do. It doesn't matter what happens. We win the treble. It doesn't matter. You're all staying. You're going. Doesn't matter. I like that kind of ruthless edge of I know what I want and I'm going to do it kind of way with Joe.
Yeah, and one sort of thing I was going to speak about, and somebody brought it up in the comments, Laura, that obviously the news was announced that Lisa Martinez is leaving. Obviously it's been a...
Things change, but Deer Park Natural Spring Water is a constant you can count on, bringing you the essence of home for 150 years and counting. Sourced from carefully selected springs, Deer Park Natural Spring Water has naturally occurring electrolytes for a crisp, refreshing taste. Find Deer Park Natural Spring Water at your favorite local retailer today. After 150 years, there's only one thing left to say. Deer Park, that's still good water.
Really difficult time for her. She got her, her ACL. Nobody wants to see that. And obviously, I think she came back for a game or two, during the run-in. She's just not had much luck as far as injuries have been concerned, has she?
No, and much like Kirsty, that was the second time she'd obviously done her ACL as well, and she's only, 22, 23 or something like that, if she's even as old as that. So it's tough for her to have went through that twice, and I think her backline was kind of set in place, so it was going to be really difficult for her to kind of get back in. She came in the Celtic game, obviously played like 90 minutes, and you could see that she struggled because she'd been out so long, and then she was just kind of flung in at the deep end a bit. And for then, we never really seen much of her again. I think she came on sparingly a couple of games, but I think when she's so young, she's just come back for an ACL as well. She's going to want to go and play, get game time, and kind of revive her career a bit. But I think she genuinely loved the club and loved being part of the team, and that. So I think that's why she was so upset yesterday. But I would have liked to think that if she was able to, she would have at least kind of got to play yesterday to kind of have a send off. But it's not always the way these things work in football. So yeah, she's away, and I think there'll be a few more to follow. But it's always sad when you see players go, especially when they seem to love the club so much. But that's the harsh reality of football. You can't just keep everybody just because they love the club.
No. And Wolf, just lastly, as Laura and Carv mentioned, Joe's obviously a very sort of, ruthless manager, and she's going to have to make some difficult decisions about who she's wanting and who she doesn't want to keep, isn't she? And this is all part and parcel of being a manager.
Yeah, I mean, she clearly knows what she wants. I mean, Laura saying there that Joe, or I think it was Laura. I was looking through the comments and only kind of half listening. Might have been Carl. That Joe knew at Christmas time, in January, whatever, that she knew who she wanted, and that means she's made up her mind very, very quickly. But she has to be ruthless because the squad's not particularly large, but it needs refreshed. We need to bring players in, and to bring players in, we're going to have to let players go because, as we keep saying, the dressing room is very harmonious, but it only stays harmonious if people are getting game time. I mean, it just takes 2 or 3 players not to get the game time they expect, or no, not to be able to. I mean, Joe's great at utilising all our subs, and it gives everybody game. They're maybe playing 90 minutes over 2 games, like yesterday. You go in, on you go. You've got an hour because you had half an hour against Partick. And that's bringing you back from injury the way you should. The players that are going to play 90 minutes, they know that they're probably going to play 90 minutes injury aside. And she brings the young players in. She seems to be really, really good at utilising her squad. So she still needs to keep the squad quite lean. I mean, I noticed in the programme yesterday, Hearts squad's massive compared to ours. That can't be a happy place to be because the squad's probably, a third again as big as ours by the names that were on it. Whether they list all their kids in it as well, I really don't know. But if their squad genuinely that size, that can't be a happy place to be because how do you keep everybody happy in there? It has to be quite lean. So we do have to let players go. I mean, as Graham says here, I think I said this yesterday as well. Libby coming on probably a goodbye because I don't think she'll be back. I don't think we can strike a deal for Libby, to be perfectly honest. I don't think there's any desire from her parent club to do that. But here's an interesting one for you then, Brian, from John Weir. He'd let Jane Ross and Sarah Ewens leave, bring back Laura Berry, which would please Carl, I know, and sign another striker as well.
I mean, that's a huge call. Both Jane and Sarah. Jane's obviously 32, 33. Cars are about right.
I think she's older than that. I think she's about 30.
I'm doing the right thing. I'm selling her short. But Jane's got a lot of experience. She's been around the block. She's played in the WSL in England. Played for Scotland for many years. I think Sarah's obviously as old as Jane. I think she's just sort of maybe shy of 27, 28 maybe. I do prescribe to the chat about Laura Berry coming back and playing in the first team. I think she's went away to Motherwell for the last 6 months and done the business for Motherwell, getting the player of the month at a certain point as well. So I mean, she's obviously shown that she can play SWPL Division 1 football. She's not a she doesn't want to be a youth player anymore. And get the Hib striker. Well, again, that's another interesting shout. I mean, she scored lots of goals this year as well. So it's going to be, as you said, Wolf. The manager has obviously decided early on who she wants and who she doesn't. So it's going to be I think it could be an interesting summer, Car. That as you'll probably be the same. Laura Berry coming back, and then you're looking at Jane and Sarah. If one of them stays, then the other one's got to go. But it's which way the manager's going to go, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult, isn't it? Because Jane, again, is one of us, has offered us a lot, especially, 21, 22, when we did win the league. It was basically down to her dragging us through some games, some of the goals that she did score, even if half of them were at the keeper's hands. As much as we wanted to moan about that, and I would give anything for that back with prime Jane Ross, back. But I don't know whether Joel could potentially, speak around, like, you're not going to be the main striker, you'll get minimal game time, but she is handy to have on the bench if she can get the service. But she's not one that needs, like, Kirsty Howe will come and get the ball and do it. Jane needs the services provided to her, and she'll score you loads of goals. But I don't know if Joe wants to freshen up a little bit and get, like you say, Laura Berry back in, and then potentially the Bailey Hutchison from Aberdeen, another youngster that we could potentially nurture. And she's already scoring loads of goals, could potentially do it for us. Or maybe Joe looks further afield and she's plenty of contacts down south and abroad, I'm sure, to bring other people in. So, but I'd imagine there'll be a fair few outgoings that'll upset probably me and everyone else, because we all love the squad that much, but there's going to be a few probably leaving, as much as I don't want to admit it, that it's going to break my heart a little bit. But we'll see what happens. We don't know yet, but the ones that have been signed up are great, but there's notable absentees from that list that is making me a little bit twitchy. Like, come on, just get us told what's happening. They're still here or they're staying, that's fine, so I can enjoy my summer.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, folks, that is us. We will call it time there. As obviously, we have got the main pod at 7:30, so join us for that. As again, guys, Wolf, Laura, Carr, Alan as well, who subbed in many a time if one of us wasn't available. My thanks to you all. It's been a roller coaster season. We've had some amazing sort of moments, and then there's been a couple of down moments. But as all the guys have said, and all you guys have said in the comments, the team is going in the right direction with Joe Potter as the manager. We've all got it back. Go right behind her, and trust her judgment, trust her process, and it's going to be an exciting summer, and then obviously next season. But guys, you have the summer off now, so thank you for joining us.
Not necessarily, Brian, because if we do have signings and ingoing coming, not every single one, because we're not going to do a breaking news pod for a signing of a player that nobody knows anything about. Maybe if we get 2 or 3 in the door, 2 or 3 out the door, we'll maybe try and reconvene.
Yes.
But everybody likes and shares and presses the wee bell on YouTube. They'll know when we're going live. We'll give them as much notice as we can. From a personal, if I can say a wee personal thing here, this is the first season that we've really taken the women's show seriously on the Rabble, and from my point of view, we couldn't have done it without the three of you guys, particularly Laura and Carl. They're the knowledge, they're the talent of the podcast. Me and you just wing it as best we can.
They're the brains.
They're absolutely the brains. They know what they're talking about. So, you know, it's been great. It's been great having them on board. Alan stepped in. We've also got Graham as a backup to the backup if we need him for next season. We've taken those steps already. So basically, we're plundering the Rangers Women's Supporters Group podcast and basically having them all on here. But their podcast's also great, folks. So have a listen to that. It usually drops the day of the game, whereas we go a day later. They check it out, they record it, we do it live, so any mistakes we make, they're just here. Again, from a personal point of view, this is the season I've been to the most games for the women's team, and it's been brilliant because the girls, again, I don't want to blow too much smoke at them, but you know they've been absolutely brilliant. The steps that they take to try and get more people involved with the Rangers women's team is fantastic. It really is. I mean, the very fact that my 21-year-old daughter is going out of her way on her own to go to games, she was at Ibrox with them yesterday after the game, and she absolutely loves it. And there's loads and loads of people in the same boat, and I'm sure a few of them are watching on here as well. So the Rangers women's show on here is going from strength to strength. The Rangers women's team is going from strength to strength. If anybody's got any questions at all about the women's game, just Henny was up on our socials, just drop us a wee note. How, you know, where they play, what the cost of the games. I've seen all these sort of questions tonight. The cost of the games, you know, when the fixtures are out, all this sort of stuff. We'll do the best we can to keep you informed. But Brian, thank you for your hosting duties over the season. Thanks for dropping me in as a host at the last minute a couple of weeks ago. I enjoyed that. And Carol Laura, it's been brilliant. We'll all need to keep in touch during the summer. As I say, one or two breaking news pods along the way, hopefully, when we bring in some big name signings. Because we will bring in at least one big name signing of that, I'm fairly sure. I'll stop talking now because I'm going to get emotional.
Can I just say the 5th of July is the Champions League draw? So just everyone keep your eyes on that. That's when we'll be looking to book our flights, or potentially not if we're hosting it.
I believe that they will be pushing for the seeded teams in each little group to host them. They'll be actively wanting them to do it. They might not necessarily all do it, but they'll be actively looking for them to do it. We won't be seeded, so we probably won't be hosting it. So in early minute, you'll get your holiday.
Magic. Well, as I say, thanks to everybody that's watched, commented, shared, and gave us the, you know, as Wolf said, this is the first season we've really went after the sort of women's side of Rangers, and I think it's been a really good decision from us. You know, as Wolf said, there's lots of more people going to the games, enjoying it. So, as I said before, thanks to Laura, Wolf, and Carr. You guys, thanks very much. And as Wolf says, we will catch you over the summer if there's any big breaking news pods. But thanks again, and see you soon.
Podcast Network.
Lucky Land Casino, asking people, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
Lucky? In line at the deli, I guess?
Aha, in my dentist's office. More than once, actually.
Do I have to say?
Yes, you do.
In the car before my kids' PTA meeting.
Really?
Yes.
Excuse me, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
I never win and tell.
Well, there you have it. You can get lucky anywhere, playing at LuckyLandSlots.com. Play for free right now. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.